Following total atomic annihilation, the rebuilding of this great nation of ours may fall to you. That's why we here at Vault Boys WV will take you on an oral tour of the beautiful state of West Virginia. There's no other place to be better prepared for the impending fallout. Now we go live to our team of experts.
Hello and welcome to Vault Boys WV, a mutated podcast crossbreeding our shared history in Appalachia with the post-apocalyptic state in Fallout 76. I am your country road scholar, Dave Chaffins, and joining me is my favorite, son of a Mothman, Austin O'Connor. What's up, Austin?
Dude, I'm pumped.
You're pumped.
I am pumped.
What are you pumped on?
I, as everyone knows, am a lifelong Tottenham Spurs fan. Lifelong.
Okay. As everyone knows. Everyone that knows you.
Yes.
Okay. What are the Tottenham Spurs?
I did not just become a fan of them like a month ago. Been a fan my whole life, not just a month. And they had a nice little comeback victory today.
Oh, yeah?
In the Champions League. And, so our buddy Steven in England, listener of the podcast, he's a big Tottenham Spurs fan.
Oh.
He kind of influenced me to start watching them. And I know he's excited. I messaged him to see how he felt about that victory, and he still hasn't responded. So he must be.
Well, Steven, get back to Austin.
Must be out there partying it up. But I'm pumped. I watched the end of the game. Real nail biter. I thought it was over. They were down 0-2. Spoiler alert. They came back.
I don't think that's a spoiler because it just happened.
You don't know, man. People might have it DVR'd.
Sports, you know.
They might have it DVR'd. Is DVR still a thing?
I mean, I don't know. I guess people have DVRs.
The Hopper.
Remember that? You get the hopper.
Remember the Hopper.
And you get the Joey.
What's the Joey?
The Joey's like a little hopper.
Oh, is it like for a smaller
Yeah,
room?
it's a Joey.
I didn't know that was a real thing.
And then the smaller one's a dingo.
Are these real or are you just messing with
The dingo is made up. The Joey is real.
Okay, I was going to say, like, how much... Does that feel like a closet?
The Joey is real. Did I ever tell you? I told you about the time I tried to cancel my Dish network.
Yes. And I remember that.
Yeah, I think I told that in the podcast about...
Yes.
Well,
it was because I couldn't cancel my Xbox subscription. I remember
right.
that.
Yes, yeah.
Update on that. I did. I canceled it. I finally figured it out.
You finally got it.
I got through to him. So.
Or no, you're trying to merge it or something.
No, I was just trying to cancel Xbox Live because I don't use it. So. But they had me locked in.
You barely use your PlayStation in general.
I've been on a hiatus, man.
I know.
I have not logged in a long time.
I know.
It's been nice. I've just taken a little break.
Yeah.
You know, I'm about to restart God of War, I think.
I go on breaks from playing video games every so often. And I know if my wife is listening to this, she's like, oh, you don't. But it's like every 2 or 3 years, I take a good 3-month break and then something's back.
I've just been so busy. And just everywhere. And I don't know. During the week, a lot of days I plan to go home and play, and then I get home and I'll work out, and then I'm like, I'll just watch a movie. It's like mentally, I'm just not in a spot to focus on a video game.
To go, yeah.
I just want to sit there and kind of just relax a lot of nights. But like I said, I think I'm gonna restart God of War. I've been wanting to play that for a while. I gotta find it. I don't know where it is, but let's kind of get back into it. I'm gonna creep back into it. Might play some NBA. NBA is an easy game to play. It doesn't take a lot of focus.
I was gonna say God of War takes some focus.
It does. So but it's so good. Oh, it's so good. It might be one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, I think that it is.
The new God of War, not the old ones were obviously very good, but this new one was just insane.
No, here's the hot take. The old ones, boring. Hot take.
I liked them. I don't know. I didn't play all of them. The ones I played,
angry dude, press a few buttons, swirly twirl around your fire blade. It's much cooler.
We've already learned in the last week that your hot takes are terrible.
No, let me tell you.
You've got a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people disagreeing on Twitter.com.
Let me tell you, I'll die on this Jolly Pirate.
We're not talking about that today because I'm not getting upset. Jolly Pirate is a gift from God. You just you're mad because they sell more food.
Well, I just don't.
That's like being mad because Walmart has a grocery section and a home section.
Right.
Like they do both.
Well, yeah.
But you're mad that Jolly Pirate sells.
Well, am I going to go
buy things that are delicious?
Do I buy stuff from the home section, or do I go to freaking Pier 1 like a bourgeoisie middle-class person I am?
Two things that are delicious. donuts, and Greek food. Both very delicious.
Let me tell you. You said that what was it? There was this Mexican restaurant or somebody. We had a
Flapjacks.
With one of the guests on the podcast, Jess Morissette, chimed in on this Jolly Pirate business. I mean, you can go back and listen to the episode with him, and we talked about.
He has my back on it,
right?
So
this Mexican restaurant essentially that serves breakfast as well. What is it? Burgers?
It's not open anymore.
Okay, well that's fine.
They were open for a very long time.
That's probably good.
They serve breakfast and Mexican food, and it was incredible.
But it wasn't Mexican themed breakfast food. It was just breakfast food.
Yeah,
it was just
Flapjacks was the spot.
Right, but if I want breakfast food, aren't I going to go to a breakfast restaurant?
You could go to Flapjacks and get breakfast, and they had delicious breakfast food.
So it's named
But
Flapjacks.
let's say you wanted like a quesadilla or like some tacos, boom, and everything was delicious. I don't know how you can hate on that.
I'm just saying that if I want something, I'm going to go to the place that makes. I want.
Okay, so like let's say that like all right, so Kroger. Say you go to Kroger.
Yeah, a grocery store.
Okay, there's a grocery store, but they also sell like air fresheners and they sell cleaning supplies. But then they also sell food. They don't only sell food; they sell these different things.
What do you
Like
mean?
variety is better.
We go and buy. We don't buy our cleaning supplies at Kroger.
Well, I'm just saying.
The only thing I buy out of the world at Kroger is like deodorant.
Your hot takes are too much. I'm not going to feed into that.
Have you ever heard of Mr. Myers Cleaning Supply or Mrs. Myers Cleaning?
No.
Well, you're not very clean, obviously, because down here, well, up the street here, that's what we use. And they don't carry that in Kroger. We order it online, and it comes in. And we buy it in bulk, and it's really delightful. I'm trying to think of anything that we buy out of the
Did they
ordinary.
sponsor this episode? I didn't know.
Mrs. Myers
That's a subtle like plug.
sponsored this episode, which reminds me I need to record a new ad. Speaking of which, I have been looking into some things here. This past week.
Are you breaking up with me?
No, I'm not. I've been looking into. See, here's the thing.
It sounds like you're breaking up with me.
No,
I've heard
not.
this. I've heard this.
It's
before.
not. We're not breaking up. Not yet.
It's kind of messed up. You would do this in front of all my friends, but whatever.
Well, it's fine. So let's say we have an event that we go to where we're invited somewhere to talk or be in a panel or to do something fun. And they're going to introduce us and they're going to say, here is Austin O'Connor and Dave Chafin's here. And they're going to be talking to us about some of the stuff they do in the podcast. Now, here's my thing. Do we want to just be introduced as that? Like, alone? Like, not like... or just, oh, look at these podcasters. So here's the idea I had. I'm on my way, and I'm getting a certification in cryptozoology.
Oh, my God.
So that I can become a cryptozoologist. Now, it's what you're thinking. It's from like one of those like weird backwoods.
It's like getting like ordained ministry, like to
it's like
officiate a wedding
to officiate a
online.
wedding. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly the kind of certification I want. So that when they introduce me at get-togethers, shindigs, parties, birthday parties, going out after work, they can introduce me as cryptozoologist Dave Chafin's. And see, if I'm a cryptozoologist, then maybe they can put a doctor in there because I'm a scientist at that point.
I will rat you out every time.
That's fine. I will have a piece of paper that proves that I am. Just like the time that I had they were trying to get me to pay a pet deposit at my apartment. It was $600, and I didn't want to pay $600 to have a pet deposit because that was dumb. Why would I pay $600 when they're obviously going to take it because they're all a bunch of greedy college apartment holders?
Did you go the service dog route?
So I contacted a doctor in Colorado who wrote prescriptions for two things. One was medical marijuana. The other one was service animals. And I, for 2 years, had a prescription for my dog, Russell. that said I needed him for general anxiety. And my favorite was, in order to prescribe you, they had these surveys that you would take. It'd be like, do you often feel stressed? Check yes or no. Yes.
I think I'm going to put yes. Like,
do you often worry about doing things that you need to do? Check yes or no. Yes. Okay. You have anxiety.
You don't say. Like, that's
so they tried
simple.
to pull me in. They were like, you need to pay this deposit. And then I looked up the laws and everything behind it.
They have to let you keep the dog for free, right?
Not only that, they said you know, you've got to pay this deposit. I said, listen, I have a service animal. It's been authorized. I have the prescription for him. And they said, can we see that? And I said, no, you can't see it. Under federal laws, you cannot see my prescription for my animal.
Yeah.
I have it. If you want to go to court over this, we can. But under law, you cannot see it. Just know that I have a prescription for him. And you can do the same if your pet's out in public. If you have a service turtle, a lot of people were like bringing their service animals into Louis Vuitton stores, and like so they could take a picture of a Louis Vuitton bag beside a turtle. And the police would come up to them and be like, "Hey, we can't do that." They were like, "Yes, we can. It's a service animal." And they're like, "Okay, can we see a prescription?" They were like, "No, you can't."
Well, that's an interesting law. I have a friend, coincidentally enough, that last week told me that the apartment he just moved into wanted him to pay like $50 a month extra for his dog, so he got it certified as a service animal.
I think mine ended up, my prescription was $100.
That's what, yeah. He was like, it's like $100, and then, you know, you save
and then you're
at
good.
that point several $100s a year.
Right.
Like, that's pretty cool.
So I've been looking into different courses and different things to be a certified cryptozoologist.
Okay.
I feel like I can bring a lot of things to that field. I feel like that if, like, you know how we've got climate change? I could be like the equivalent to like a climate denier.
Yeah.
Or like I'm the doctor that they bring to all of the cryptozoology events that just cracks jokes the whole time. They're like, you guys, seriously, come on now.
Well, I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
You have
next
my
time you're
support.
with you introduce me to your friends, and I have that certificate. Be like, this is my friend David. Excuse me, this is my friend cryptozoologist Dave Chafins. Everyone give him a round of applause, and the two people will be like,
nah, they'll just probably like give you a wedgie, nerd.
I don't think any of your friends give wedgies. I don't think you're friends with Biff.
It's true.
Or anyone in a John Cusack 80s movie.
I'll give you a noogie.
I don't think any of your friends give... No.
A swirly. That's it. Yeah, a swirly.
A swirly.
You're getting a swirly.
Did you ever get a swirly?
I never did.
Well, I didn't either, because guess what? It was made up.
No. I saw a kid in high school get a swirly once.
In high school, get a swirly?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, they're doing some weird stuff across the
I
state
minded
line.
my business. I was like, I'm not next, man. I'm going to walk on out of here. So, I don't know.
You saw this poor kid getting a swirly, and you said, I'm not.
It was more so a
stand
situation where I think he did it to himself because he was like talking trash to these kids.
And you got a swirly?
And then like they were like, dude, you know that there's like more of us than you. And I was like, they're right. There's more of them than you, and there's more of them than me. So I'm gonna mosey on out of here.
I've seen that of annoying kids like try to yell at like rough and tumble, think they're bully kids, like the quintessential nerdy kid, and egg them on. And they're not there to start any trouble. Egg them on, and I've seen somebody get like sucker punched right in the face and fall to the floor. But I can't say that I have seen a swirly.
I don't know if it ended up being successful. I left before anything actually happened, but I saw them pick the kid up, and then he was still talking trash. And then I think that I don't know if it actually
some
full
weird
on
stuff.
happened.
See, when my dad was assistant principal over at Bluefield High School, things were different back then.
Wow.
Things where they would call it a bomb threat to the school. They would call it in. And he had his office, and back in ye olden times, he would wheel his chair out into the hall and like have his phone on the court and look down and see the kids in the payphone, and they had called it in from the payphone that was down the hall from the assistant principal's office, and he would point at them and go, "In my office now."
Mr. Chafin's just
Mr. Chafin's.
laying down the law. Here's the
Assistant
thing
principal.
about the kids I went to high school with. Most of them that were like super big bullies, or just jerks, more like just overall terrible people. Most of them are like just incredibly lame now, like just losers. And it's actually delightful. I love it just because I look at them when I go home and I'm like, huh, wow.
I'm trying to think about like bullies at our school.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know. We all kind of knew each other too well.
Right.
And like you had like the rednecks, quote unquote. And we say that as like country people living out here. And if we're calling people rednecks,
Yeah.
there's an issue.
Right.
There's something. There's something going on.
There were definitely a lot of rednecks at your school. There were a lot of mine too, though. But it genuinely is. It makes me smile to see some of the bullies that I went to school with, and just how God, it's amazing.
Like that justice.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow, your life seems to not be going too great. Maybe you shouldn't have been a terrible person.
Right. And the next time I see bullies from high school, people are like, listen, you guys suck. Look at me over here. Cryptozoologist.
You're a cryptozoologist. Bet you never thought I'd be that.
Bet
huh?
you never thought that would occur. Look at my certificate. Do you see my certificate?
You're just gonna like.
I want to have a card in
you're
my
gonna,
wallet.
Like, carry in your back
Yes.
pocket at all times. You're gonna be like,
Yes. I want a card in my
look
wallet.
here,
I'm a
cryptozoologist, and then like
Right
fold
there.
it back up and put it back in your pocket.
Yes. That's exactly what I want, and that's exactly how I want to behave,
Yeah.
and that's the life I want to lead.
Yeah. Never thought you'd see this, huh? Look at this.
Right.
Never seen something like this down here, have you? Boom. Cryptozoologist.
Or like, sir, you're not allowed to be here. Don't worry, ma'am. Pull out the-
Don't worry, ma'am. Cryptozoologist
Zoologist.
Dave Chafin's cryptozoology department.
Right.
What are we dealing with here?
Sir,
this
going
is
on?
This is a Wendy's.
This is
No, yeah. So crypto, I'm behind you. I'm full support. I will not mock you for it. You have
I mean,
my
I
word.
don't. You won't mock me for it. That's the thing.
That sounds like a challenge
That's
now.
the thing.
Sounds like a challenge.
You just wait. You'll be all jealous.
You know what? Let's just move on.
All right. So this week we got a new Inside the Vault, which really covered a lot of stuff that was in Patch 9, which we'll talk about here in a second. But one of the things I wanted to point out that was in Inside the Vault was they're adding in display cases to the game eventually. They said that they're working on it. I think that was in response to people wanting to showcase their loot that they had at their camp. And so it says in the article, it says specifically that you could showcase weapons magazines, as in like not like gun magazines, but well, I mean, I think there is actually a gun magazines on a shelf at the drugstore. You know what I'm talking about? And bobbleheads, which I think bobbleheads are cool because I like to look at bobbleheads and find bobbleheads rather than actually using bobbleheads in the game.
Just fun to find them.
They're just fun to find them. You know, it's like, oh, look at this little guy. Do you not pick up? Do you leave a bobblehead? You don't leave a bobblehead.
No,
You take it with you.
exactly. Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy.
So Patch 9 is out, which is the big news.
The big
this
one.
week. This added the full new quest line called Ever Upwards, which frankly added a new faction to the game known as the Pioneer Scouts. They're just a full new faction with faction quests, repeatable dailies, and eventually it seems like events that will go along with them.
Yes.
As well as player vending, which has been something that we have requested, that everyone has requested, that they want to be able to sell items from their camp. It is finally in there. As long as, let's see, they have some other camp updates, like you can, I think, build a single foundation and then build a bunch of stuff off of that, so you can have a bunch of floating bases. Not my scene, but they've done some improvements to that, as well as a lot of other minor fixes, which you can read more in the patch notes. I didn't feel like writing that all down. I didn't feel like reading them off here because that's not interesting. You can just go read that yourself.
Right.
You can infer what you want to infer.
Exactly. Infer away.
Yes. So, my experience, I have done a overhaul at my camp, and I'm proud to announce officially on the podcast. Can I get a drum roll?
I don't know what I'm going to do this on.
Well, okay. I will officially announce now that the Squat and Gobble is now open.
Oh my God. How many times are we going to go back and forth here?
Let me tell you something. I'm all about that content.
Yeah.
That content.
Terrible content. You don't have it's Squat and
Except
Gobble
this
is
time,
terrible.
it's not called Squat and Gobble. It's called Squat and Gob. Because
Okay.
it's shortened.
Oh, nice. Rebranding.
It's
Makes
a
people forget.
It's a more urban, people go to Squat and Gob. When you go Squat and Gob, hey Larry, you go Squat and Gob, get yourself a nice mega slice steak and a lemonade, which I got the lemonade recipe. That happened.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Yes. So come on down to Squat and Gob. I'm trying to figure out a menu of like a set list of items to keep on there. I want to keep it all related to cannibalism in some form or fashion, so it's kind of questionable a little bit. Because I had an experience as well playing.
Oh, proceed.
I had an experience with cannibalism. No, well, technically, in the game. This weekend I was playing, and I was just kind of going around doing what I call grocery shopping in the game. What is grocery shopping? It's when you just start hitting up locations and getting that junk. You go to the store, you grocery shop. You said, okay, I need these 12 things. And so you go around, you start pulling stuff off shelves. You're like, okay, yeah, toy alien, I need that. Yeah, kitchen scale, need that. Hot plate, gotta have that. You're going through. You're getting stuff off your list. You're saying, okay, here we've got a haul. Take it back to the house, unload it, go back out the grocery store again. But during my grocery store times, I turn on my my cannibal perk just because I was going about, and I was walking around in the imposter sheep squatch outfit, which is terrifying in itself. It's like a blood covered sheep squatch-esque outfit.
Yeah.
And the ritual mask that has the horns and the as we were talking about Wendigos, and I just called them Wendigos again. Why did I do that? We just did a whole episode talking about Wendigos.
Wendigo. Wendigo.
So I was wearing this, and I went out, and right near me, I saw this level 19 character that had a 5-cap bounty on it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take care of this. So this guy's not looking at me. We're in the mire. There's a road. He's walking up the road. I am sneaking, and he's firing at something off to the left. I run out onto the road and stand very still, no weapon, just like my skulled, weird, bloody outfit. And I'm just standing there. This guy turns around and he looks at me, and he does like the little wave and the little heart.
Yeah.
And then he waves again. And then he pulls out his weapon. And then I'm not moving. I'm not doing a single thing. I'm just like standing there staring. No weapon pulled, no nothing, no waving back. And so he pulls out his gun and he starts to like move a little closer. And then he runs off to the right. And he's like, all right, I'm done with this. And he keeps on kind of looking back. And so I let him get a little bit of ways. And then I'm like, okay. The chase is on. Because I've got that speed demon mutation.
Yeah, you can just catch him.
You can just catch him. Start running. Get this guy. Is attacked by these blood bugs. They're essentially like mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Gets attacked by them. Kills them all. I come in at the last minute and just like whack him. He's down on the ground. And if you have the cannibal mutation on, you can execute people. I don't know if you've ever seen this. So when they're on their knees and they can be like, help me, help me. You can press square when you have the cannibal mutation and you can eat them.
Oh, interesting.
So, from his perspective, he met this creepy guy out in the woods that was stalking him.
Yeah.
that
And then
he tried to run away from and thought he got far enough away and then got attacked by monsters only to find that he was then eaten.
That's actually, that'd be a little creepy. I wouldn't like that very much.
So,
Poor guy.
he's fine. He'll survive. What is he doing level 19 with the bounty?
What is he doing level 19 up in the mire?
This is why. These are the
you done did it to yourself.
Here's the thing. Man. It's not me being mean. It's just there's an education.
But you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed every minute because I was like, I know that I'm going to be able to down this guy, and then from the other end, and I logged out of the server immediately after that. I was just like yeah, I'm gone.
I'm out.
I'm gone. He'll never know. But I was able to last night play a little bit of the Ever Upwards update, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best late game activities that they've come up with. So you have all these badges that you're trying to get, and they all have specific things that you have to do. So you go and you do, I think there's like some intro quest to it where you got to collect some sludge and clean up the community a little bit. But then you're tasked with getting 3 of these, like, I think it's like 9 or 10 different badges for different things. Like athletics, swimming, archery, was it code breaking, hunting, a number of different things.
Right.
And they're actually pretty tough to do and to get through, and it, not from a level of difficulty like, oh, it's a hard enemy. It's just tough. Like these obstacle courses I go to, there's one where it times you and you run across the New River Gorge Bridge, and you're running, and you've got like the set amount of time, and it's having you the way it's taking you. You figure, oh, just straight run across. No, you're going underneath it and like running across the beams on the bridge, trying not to fall down because you know if you fall, you're going to fall off the side of it.
Yeah.
It's a whole mess. Go to what is that place? Camp Venture. Do their little tests that they have over there. They have you like scaling walls, doing this platforming up the side of this wall. I can't finish this. They want you to do that course in like 40 seconds. I can't do it. Finally got to do it last night. Did it. And then each of the badges has an associated exam with it that are incredibly difficult. There was one point where they showed me an algebra equation and they asked me to solve it. And I didn't know. I had no clue. They were asking.
I would be lost.
They were asking me specifics of archery, like what would you? One of the questions was, which of these is not a part of an arrow? And it was the shaft, the shell, the knock, and the fetching.
Couldn't tell you. Shell.
That's what I said, and it was right. I looked it up after.
That's the only thing I could think there was.
Right. But you really have to think, and then all the questions change. It isn't like the fireman questions.
Yeah.
All the questions change every time you do them, and you have to get all 5 right.
That's evil.
It's tough. I had Selena sitting there, and we were going through them together. And we were going through them. We were both trying to...
I saw you tweet that, the picture of it.
Yeah. I tweeted that out. We were going through them, and we were having a tough time. She knew a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Very smart. My wife is way smarter than I am. But I'm still stuck on a few of those tests. I need to go back and do.
Probably won't go well for me.
Well, now is the time to come back. If you have just been listening to podcasts and not been playing, I think now is the time. I think that they have laid... This is the foundation, I think, of what they're going to build off of. I think now we've got it's built out enough. They've worked out a ton of the different bugs, a ton of different stuff. The patch was immense. I mean, and not just the amount of content added, but the amount of bugs that they fixed in the system. Everything feels better. I think it feels like that they found a path for the game and they're moving forward with it. I'm excited. I'm going to be playing more tonight. Be getting my badges. I've got to do. I've done my swimming challenge, and now I've got to take pictures at the water park of the different slides and such. I've got to do my archery challenge, in which I go around and have to kill 50 enemies with a crossbow and craft different things. And I've got a list of things to do.
I'm sure you will get them done, though.
Yes.
Diligently.
My final thing is, after we recorded this podcast last week, I logged on. I was like, I'll play for a little bit. Logged on. Immediately spawned in. And I noticed there's like something purple going on at my camp. I'm like, what is this? And all of a sudden, my turrets are firing on me. I'm like, what is going on? And they're covered in purple. And I was like, what is happening? And then at the very center of my camp, I see the Flatwoods Monster. And I'm like, wait, I've not seen it yet. Never had seen it in the game. I knew that it was there, never naturally encountered
it's
one.
in your camp?
It is in the center of my camp. There's a fence all the way around my camp.
You have like an outdoor. You have like multiple buildings.
I have multiple buildings, yeah. It is in the very center. And it has control of all of the turrets, including some super mutants. It's showed up with an army. And it's like...
Did you die?
No, I actually didn't. But it was this epic battle of me trying to... I couldn't destroy my turrets because I didn't want them to... I didn't want to like go and have to repair them and do different stuff. But he teleports at the same time. And so we had a fantastic battle. It was one of the best combat encounters that I've had in the game.
Where is your camp located?
So it's in between. Right now, I've moved it to a small clearing in the mire. In between, you know where the Robco facility is in the Cranberry Bog?
Yeah.
You go north of there. It's right on the edge of the mire.
Okay.
There's a little clearing. Come on down, squat and gob, get yourself lemonade and a little piece of meat.
I don't want to know what's in the meat, but
that's my prerogative. But with that, that's a great transition
to our topic.
Welcome back, dear listeners. It's time once again to put aside all you think you know, all you believe to be true. Time to open your mind to the strange, bizarre, and sometimes terrifying world that exists in the shadows and fringes of our own, where myth, legend, and rumor are made real. Yes, it's time for more thrilling tales from the West Virginia hills.
Dave, I have a question.
What's your question?
Do you believe in aliens?
Do I? I don't know. I believe in aliens. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe
So
in
yes.
aliens. Yeah.
I do too.
Okay.
And I think we should talk about some today.
I think that would be a great thing to talk
There's a
about.
very notable one, as you mentioned just now, in West Virginia. But
In
there's
West
a lot of weird stuff that goes on in West Virginia and has gone on in West Virginia.
I would agree.
So we did an episode about the Flatwoods Monster already.
Right.
But we're going to harp on that just a little bit more because I learned a little bit more information about the Flatwoods Monster and the night that it was seen. And I was not aware
And
of.
we were young in the podcast. We were like little baby podcasters.
Young pups, naive.
Now we're like, we're batting a 99, you know?
So the Flatwoods Monster was first spotted on September 12th, 1952. And it's a very iconic tale in West Virginia. You know, I would say most people in the state have heard of the Flatwoods Monster.
This is a big mood.
It's a big, big, big flipping mood, dog. So I did a little bit of research, and I found this article from the, where was it? The Register Herald.
Right. That's
in
the
West
Huntington.
Virginia. Yes. They published an article, and they claimed that West Virginia had the most UFO activity and sightings in America. They went on to say even more than Roswell, which I thought Roswell was the standard.
I thought that was like the
place for UFO activity.
Right.
So I did some digging in the article, and there was an author, or is an author and researcher named Frank Fascino. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his name, Fascino. And he conducted nearly 20 years of research and concluded that the night that the Flatwoods Monster was first spotted, which, like I said, it was September 12th, 1952, there were reportedly 21 hours of, quote, sustained UFO activity, and West Virginia was the hub of it all, end quote. So that kind of sparked my interest. I thought that was something I had never really... I'm surprised that we hadn't read that before.
Right.
So Fascino claimed that there were actually 10 crash landings that night throughout West Virginia. They were all documented, and that was what took more than 17 years for him to figure out. He retraced routes, and he went town to town around Flatwoods and around West Virginia where there were supposedly spotted, UFOs. And he determined that there were 10 crash landings. There were things spotted from, I think, D.C., Baltimore, Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, the Potomac Highlands of West Virginia. People spotted things in the sky all over the place that night, apparently. But so that kind of interested me in the sense that maybe there were a lot more visitors that night than we knew, and possibly if it was a real UFO, that maybe the Flatwoods Monster crashed, and these other ships that were spotted supposedly were trying to find him or to help him after he crash landed, or it's just there's a lot of theories out there, I think, from this. I think a lot of people looked at it as, it's a Flatwoods Monster and folklore, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I think that if that is the case and there were a lot of sighted UFOs, that something was going on and maybe something went wrong with their hashtag squad up there.
Yes.
And maybe they had to come get him.
I had been reading some different accounts this week of people during the Flatwoods Monster invasion, I suppose. Also, I figured out it was also called the Frametown Monster.
Yeah, Frametown. I read that as well.
That it was spotted in Frametown, which is an unincorporated community outside of Flatwoods.
Yes.
It's called the Flatwoods Monster, but it wasn't actually in the town. Like, it wasn't in the city. It was out in some farm, like these people's farm. As we mentioned before, we're not going to dig up the old story. But the one interesting account that I found was this guy who was the, what do you call it? The superintendent of the Board of Education, the head honcho of the Board of Education for Braxton County, said that morning he saw a UFO fly out in the sky. That the morning after that happened, he saw a UFO leave the planet Earth. And this is a dude that has some credit.
Yeah, a lot to lose by maybe sounding crazy.
Right, and not only that, just from his stances, then a minister of education. If you're talking about a more reputable source, you'll be unlikely to find one.
Exactly.
The other accounts that I've read were more just people that were sitting at home and felt the rumble of the I guess it was a UFO.
Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling.
Yes, and said that they saw lights and different stuff that same night. So it wasn't just these people that found this thing out of the field. Other people felt the same way
it
about
was loud
this
enough
occurrence.
that.
And it's so interesting because things like that during that time were such big news for local communities, and so it was literally the talk of the town. Especially when you've got the head of the Board of Education coming out and being like, "Hey, I saw a UFO fly out of the sky."
I synced it.
I had a coworker, and this was maybe a year ago. Not naming any names. By God, not naming any names. Yeah. This is a guy that's like a C-level executive on a fairly big company.
Yeah.
Come in. We're in a meeting. We're talking about important work. This is big money moves. He comes in. The head honcho asks this guy, "How was your weekend?" He says, "It was kind of weird." He said, "What happened?" He was like, "Saw a UFO." And everybody in the room was looking around like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I was out back, saw a UFO." He was with my buddies. He lives in Charleston. He lives South Charleston.
Yeah.
I was out there with my buddies. We were having a cookout. We looked up in the sky. We saw a UFO.
Well,
and everyone in the room was kind of like, we were expecting you to say, "I had a great weekend. How was your weekend?"
Yeah.
We were not ready. No one was ready.
My wife and I went shopping and took the kids to
no one was ready at 10 a.m. on a
like,
Tuesday to be, I saw aliens this weekend. What about you?
Did he say it just so like matter of factly, like, yeah, I saw an alien?
Well, then the head honcho was like, oh, you probably saw a drone or something. And even if you did see something, like when you're in that kind of meeting, you go, yeah, He was like, no, it was an alien. It was, he like
very
stood by
sure.
his guns very weirdly, and I was like, I don't care what you think. This is not the time. We are not going to fight this battle right now.
Yeah.
We got other fish to fry going on here.
Man.
Wow. When I was in high school, I had a chemistry teacher who was driving up on East River Mountain, which connects into West Virginia, as well as Virginia. The tunnel that you go through if you're going up 77 is on the West Virginia side and the Virginia side. It's where state line, goes right through it. But she was driving down the mountain one time, and she said that she saw a helicopter above her that had a searchlight, and they thought that they were just like looking for people, looking for an escape person, and said that the searchlight came above their car and just started following them, and they were like, what do we do?
Yeah. Like, should we stop?
Do we stop the car? And then they slowed down, and they said that the searchlight took off so fast that it looked like a jet plane.
That would freak me out. I would not be able to handle that.
And she was like, I'm not saying that it could have been aliens, but that's what happened, and that's not natural. That's unnatural.
Well, West Virginia in general just seems to have a lot of people that say things go on. One of the most interesting to me, and I think it's just because I travel it so much, is the East River Mountain. That's what you just said. The West Virginia Turnpike between Beckley and Charleston on I-77. Because you're kind of back in the hills for a little bit of time. A lot of people don't have cell service through there.
Right. Here's a piece of advice. If you're ever driving through West Virginia and you're like, I'm going to take a shortcut through one of the towns, let me tell you, and this is coming from somebody who's lived here their entire life, don't do it.
Yeah,
Just
unless you know where you're going.
I get lost.
Yeah.
I'm a geographer.
Make sure you know exactly where you're going.
I map this state. I can't. Right. We tried to bypass traffic on the turnpike, be like, oh, we're cool. We got on some roads that I was like,
it can happen quick.
Could have been a Wendigo. Could have been a Wendigo.
Yeah. But so there have been reported sightings by police officers, state troopers that travel back and forth on the turnpike at night. Mm-hmm. Just, making sure nobody's speeding, making sure nobody's broke down.
Right.
And they say that sometimes when they get back in the hills on the interstate, which is, I say that and it makes it sound like, oh, yeah, you're backwoods. But no, it's just a little more mountainous section of the interstate. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of stuff along. It's like a 25-mile stretch where it's pretty empty and a little curvy. But they've said, like, people, I've read several reports of police officers saying, I've seen stuff on that road I cannot explain.
Wow.
Just back here in the mountains, that lights flying overhead and things that just don't make sense. And I could see it. I mean, I've driven it at night. It's kind of a creepy stretch of road sometimes.
Yeah, especially on peak travel times, it's not as, but from where we're traveling it, we're hitting these roads after 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We're on these roads, and generally it's only locals that are traveling on these roads.
You'll see
and truck
a couple
drivers.
Cars. Yeah, I've driven it before. I've been up leaving Bluefield to come back to Charleston at like 4 a.m. some mornings. If I'll stay and I'll try to get up and leave and
try
come
to get up and leave,
before work and everything. And there's no one on the road, and it's still dark, and it's I mean, you kind of wonder what you could see sometimes, and especially after hearing some of those stories of that. But I don't know. It's West Virginia in general, like I said, it just seems like there's stuff other than just southern West Virginia and Flatwoods like we talked about. The thing that interests me the most, which I think we've touched on a little bit, and it's in the game, obviously, the fact that the Green Bank Telescope is in West Virginia. I think that it flies under the radar.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
And the whole point of the the intended point was to look at look for signals and planets that are viable, aka look for aliens.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot going on there that we don't know about. It's a very secluded, quiet, private area. And I just like the research they are doing, I think is beyond a lot of people.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts. I've got some thoughts on that. The whole radio quiet zone and the people that have that it's a disorder, but it's also like kind of psychological.
Right.
That like Chuck in Better Call Saul. If you watch Better Call Saul, has that like electromagnetic phobia where if he gets near it, he like freaks out. A lot of those people live out in the radio quiet zone because you don't have those radio waves. You can't feel that,
right,
quote unquote, out there.
I mean, it's a massive structure. It's amazing piece of technology too, but it's just cool to think. I don't know how much they make public, but I'm sure they see a lot of stuff there, and the stuff that they can maybe like get a hold of that. Just I mean, it's a powerful.
Well, like nobody's gonna let big information like that go out to the public.
Exactly.
Like that's just not. That's
they
just
have
not
to be
gonna
that
happen.
way. That's just government.
Right.
Government. Research, and that's the way it needs to be. But it's just. I think it just goes along with the fact that West Virginia seems to be a hub for extraterrestrial activity. And I mean, obviously, it's a great spot because the mountains help to block a lot of the signals coming in from other things and make it its own little quiet sort of bowl that it sits in there in the valley. But it is, again, it just seems like the perfect place for some weird stuff to go on. So it's a cool thing, and I thought they did it justice in the game too. The structure looks very accurate.
A big old satellite dish.
Yeah.
Chilling out there. Have you had any experiences with aliens in particular? Have you seen anything?
The only thing and I don't even know how to explain this. It just. I was younger, and I was on a family vacation in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we went on a ghost tour one night.
Home of the seminal TV show One Tree Hill. Now
Lots
continue.
of TV shows down there. Dawson's Creek was filmed there.
Dawson.
A lot of movies. I think a lot of Nicholas Spark movies.
Who's Dawson going to get with? Is it going to be Julia, or is it going to be...
I don't even know who any of the characters.
Mr. Darcy.
I've never watched Dawson's Creek. Is that the one with the gif of what's his name, like boohooing?
Yeah, of him boohooing, yeah, because he's Dawson. I've seen Dawson's Creek because I grew up with a sister who was 10 years older than me and was into all that stuff.
In the 90s, it was a big deal.
I've watched the original teen rom-com dram show that had Jared Leto in it that I can't remember the name of. My So-Called Life, I think that's called. Had Jared Leto back when he was a little kid. Jared Leto.
Are we going down pronunciation lane again? Jared Leto?
I made a meme this week.
A meme?
I made a meme. And I don't make memes. That's not my.
I saw the meme you made.
Yes.
It was good.
It was a good. I rarely will post. Well, I've never actually posted a full-on meme on the account.
People are gonna think
you should go
that's
check
really
that
how
out.
you
It's
say
on the
it.
Instagram and Twitter.
With all of your terrible pronunciations, people are gonna think that you mean Mimi.
I mean meme. It's my meme. You got to get on there.
How did you pronounce
all the kids are
Quarrier?
using memes? You got to get.
Did you call it Quarrier Street?
Quarrier Street.
It's Quarrier Street.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
I know. So I've had an experience. I guess a scare.
Well, hold on. I didn't get to tell mine.
Oh yeah, you're in Wilmington, North Carolina. We got
talk about
sidetracked.
Dawson's Creek.
You got Dawson
So I'm looking up at this house.
in Wilmington, North Carolina.
One of the houses along the tour. I'm looking up at it, and above the roof of the house, I see this blue light come up, come down, and it lingers over the house. And I tapped my cousin on the shoulder, and I was like, "Tori, look at that." She looks up. I'm pretty sure she saw it too, and it circled, whew, it was gone, and it was a bright, blue light, and it was kind of, it was at dusk, it wasn't completely dark yet. getting pretty. I mean, it was almost dark.
It was like past golden hour, but not dark.
But it was getting dark, and it just was this blue light, and I've never seen anything like it. And it was just over these houses, and then it just took off, and it just flew off into the sky and disappeared. And I, to this day, cannot explain what it was I saw. I will never forget it, though. It was the weirdest.
It was the weirdest.
I genuinely, at first, I was like, "Oh, was that a ghost flying out of the house?" And
I wonder if it was like a spirit or something.
I mean, something was over the houses, and then it just took off into the sky. And I wasn't like, I think 2 or 3 other people in the group noticed it too, and they were like, "What was that?" And then everyone was just kind of like, "Oh, we're on a ghost tour. That's weird, whatever." Right. But it was. I mean, it was not an enormous light, but it was definitely not like a bug. I mean, it was big enough that it was something, and this was in probably the early 2000s. This would not have been a drone. Drones were not flying around at that point in time.
No.
This thing, I mean, it was moving. So I don't know. That's the only thing I've ever really had happen. I've had some friends tell me that they've had some things happen. You have had something happen at one point in your life, haven't you, that you've seen?
Well, yes. It was I would call it an alien scare.
Okay.
So I was in middle school, and we had these like church retreats, and they were essentially just like regular camp. It wasn't surprisingly not weird religious camp. It was just like regular old camp. Right. And every fall they would have a weekend where you would go. You would have the normal like week-long, 2-week-long summer camp, but every fall you would go to this like weekend retreat. And it was at the 4-H camp up in Ripley, West Virginia, which whenever I tell the story, I said it was in Ripley, believe it or not. That's my joke.
Proceed.
There's a place called Ripley.
Proceed.
Believe it or not.
Proceed. I'm not even going to acknowledge that.
So it was about the same time, I think, that you, like, as far as sunlight goes, like after golden hour, around dusk.
Yeah.
We hear this. And I'm like, what is going on? And we see this gigantic red thing, and it was cloudy, coming down out of the clouds. And we were like, what is happening?
You can't explain what you see.
What is going on? I can't explain it. And it kept on getting lower, and we were like, what's going on? And we see this, there's like a triangle attached to it. I'm like, what is...
Yeesh.
What's happening? Now, I hate to be BuzzFeed, but this conclusion will shock you.
You'll never believe.
You'll never believe what happened. Turns out, and listeners may know this kind of device, but a lot of people don't. And so when I describe it to them, they're not familiar with it. What the red thing was a giant parachute attached to this, looked like a bicycle with a big old engine and I suppose some sort of fan attached to the back of it.
Yeah.
That was trucking away in the clouds, that was flying. It was a flying bicycle attached to a parachute. You can. I'm not sure what exactly it's called. And I need to look it up because
on it.
We look. Who was flying the bicycle? It's a clown. What? It is a clown with a bright red, the clown hair, like freaking it. A clown flying over us, waves at us.
Just casually, how do you do? Yeah. Well, that's
everyone was like, nobody's ever gonna believe this.
Yeah. At least you debunked it, though.
Well, we
at
thought
least it wasn't like,
we
what
were
is that?
Like,
and it was gone.
What is that? What? And it was. Everybody was like, this can't be.
What are we seeing right now?
A clown riding a bicycle in the sky attached to a parachute. Now, is that just
sounds like something that, like, if you took acid.
Is that just as weird as this was in middle school? So, I mean, I can tell you I wasn't dropping acid in middle school.
I want to know how that guy's doing now.
I do too.
Like, where is he?
I mean, It seems like that maybe my theory was that he just likes to do that when they have camp retreats there.
Just to scare the hell out of
be
people.
like, look at this guy,
Yeah.
right? Because what else are you going to do with that device other than
really.
show up places out in the
How
country?
fast was he moving? Would it be
not
beneficial at all to like travel or?
I mean, he was moving probably as fast as, like, he wasn't as fast as like a car in the interstate. I mean, he was going.
True.
He was floating along.
I guess maybe times were tough. I don't know. Maybe he just had to get to his next gig and happened to cross over your camp.
I need to look up what that is.
Well,
I'll put that
does
on
sound
there.
interesting though, and something that's a story to tell.
Yes.
So this all kind of leads me to this thought, and it's something I've read before, and it's kind of stuck with me because I didn't really think about it. Mm-hmm. And it's the thought of there are two possibilities in the world.
Okay.
Either we are alone or we're not alone. Mm-hmm. And both of those, if you think about it, are equally terrifying.
Yes.
And when you that messes me up when I think about that. Because it's like, okay, so we're alone in this infinite universe. That's pretty scary. We are very, very alone because there is infinite space and that we're it.
We got a light riding on this.
Yeah. But to me, that just does not seem possible. With how much is out there, and
statistically,
it's impossible for us to be alone.
That's why when you asked if I believed in aliens, it's like, yeah, I believe that there's life out there.
Yeah.
Do I believe in the Flatwoods Monster? Personally, no. But I wasn't
I'm right
there.
with you,
I
honestly.
love the stories, and I respect the stories.
It's just, again, how is there no more definitive evidence than just like, I saw it. Right. Like, I mean, I know it was the 50s and photography was not as advanced now, but I agree with you. I think that right now, right this minute, somewhere in the universe, there are two people possibly doing a podcast right now somewhere millions of miles away saying, do you think there's life out there somewhere else? I think there
They're
are other
playing
people.
Fallout 77.
I think there are other people.
They're in West Vandalia.
I think there are other people somewhere that are wondering. We have a visitor down here.
Yeah,
again.
we have a dog visitor. We have an alien. We've been invaded by my dog.
He is licking my knee, and I'm not exactly sure why.
So you've been sweat on that knee?
A little
You've
bit
been
of sweat,
dropping some
maybe.
food on that knee?
So, but really, I genuinely think that there are other people out there somewhere that are thinking, I wonder if we're the only people, in the whole universe. And in our lifetime, I don't think we'll find out. But I would say within the next maybe couple 100 years, I think we'll find out if there's someone out there. I mean, you never know. The way science has advanced rapidly in the last 20, 30, 40 years, it could happen. I don't know. Maybe.
Do you think that somebody already knows, like already?
I think someone already knows.
So that leads me into the thing that I particularly wanted to talk about today, which was the Men in Black.
Yes.
The Men in Black, fun fact, was coined. That term was coined by the author John Keel in his book, The Mothman Prophecies.
What do you know?
So while not the first quote-unquote sighting of the Men in Black, that's where all of the idea and I wouldn't say mythology, but the lore behind the Men in Black is from. But originally it happened to a guy that was investigating this island out on the coast up in New England. That was out there with his dog and saw 6 UFOs, 6 like flying discs in the sky. And he was like, what is this? And then one of them let off debris and it killed his dog.
Oh.
And hit him. And he was like, I've got to tell people about this. And a bunch of guys in dark suits showed up and they were like, no, you can't tell anybody about this. You will not tell us what happened. You cannot tell anybody about this. Which leads into, after the Mothman sighting, which we have covered previously in multiple facets on the podcast. Point Pleasant was I don't want to say invaded, but the people had spotted these Men in Black in Point Pleasant, as well as Indrid Cold, which
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
My question right now: the Men in Black are these government agents, and they act really strange.
Yes,
they're really ambiguous looking. Like they're some say they're have like an Eastern European look to them, real pale, real tall, kind of slender, like slender men.
You're describing me right now. Pale, tall, slender.
Well, they don't have beards and a little bit of color in their cheeks. You got a little color in your cheeks.
That's true. They're just very pale people.
They're just very like pale. Like, what's her face? The Doctor Strange's mentor.
Yeah, they look like Conan O'Brien without the red hair.
Yeah.
So
they showed up and started questioning people in the town, and there was interesting little tidbits that they they didn't know what a ballpoint pen was.
Aliens.
At a point, they thought that they could drink Jell-O.
Aliens for sure. That's serial
So
killer
the
stuff.
the running theory is that these men in black are government agents, but they are also aliens. That they are
like in agreement with our government.
in
to
agreement
hide
that they are
themselves.
trying to cover up this alien situation. Later on in West Virginia, if you may know, there was a certain hotel that had a certain bunker underneath that. And
We may or may not have discussed it.
we may or may not have discussed it. You'll have to go back and listen to other episodes to figure that out. Spoiler alert, we have. The owner of the hotel had been going through the books, thought something was strange, and was approached by men in black. And they said, hey, listen.
Forget what you saw, dog.
You can't talk about this.
Forget what you saw.
Yes, everything is true. Now, this is rumor. This is like super insider rumor that I may or may not have coerced out of a tour guide.
Right.
This is happening. You can't talk about it.
Yeah. You saw nothing.
You can't do anything about it. So they're not just hiding alien occurrences. They're hiding anything that the government really, truthfully doesn't want known. And then the conspiracy behind why the Greenbrier's known about is because the government wanted it known about because they didn't want to upkeep with it anymore, and they wanted to build a new bunker.
Yeah. They called the Washington Post. Hey, so I heard this little rumor. Little rumor going around down here.
So follow me on this journey. I'm about to take you on a journey. So after that, there was a series of comic books written called The Men in Black, who
Here comes the man in black.
was about this old agent for them that was human, that didn't care about human life, but was more trying to protect people from alien threats and utilize tools to make people forget. And they had a number of different gadgets, wore black suits all the time, and recruited a fantastic DEA agent newly to be his partner. This comic was written for years throughout the 80s and 90s, and eventually would go on to have a film adaptation where Will Smith would play the titular character and main character, and across from him would be Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. What a guy.
Being the Men in Black.
Yes.
So,
Real quick, can I ask you a question?
yes.
You ever thought about, what if I have seen something, but my memory's been wiped? What if I have actually seen it? You wouldn't know. You'd have no way of
I
knowing.
was thinking about that actually this week. It's maybe there's some weird, and it's not even it's been completely wiped. Maybe it's just been quietly suggested. I forget about that. When you're a kid, you know how kids are really sensitive to stuff?
Yeah.
Really sensitive to supernatural stuff, and they just accept it as a thing. What if, as we get older, those memories naturally kind of go away, and that's the progression of things, and we get less, we turn ourselves off to that because we have to explain reasonings for things. So that's why, and I had this problem, and I think you have as well with sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
You will see, often people will say that there is an alien sitting on top of them, or there are demons sitting on top of them, or demons out of the corner of their eye, because your mind has to explain why you can't move, and it is making up stuff.
Yeah.
It is literally the thing.
But listen, like you said, maybe suggested. like it's like suggested we're influenced, whatever. You know what that makes me think of?
What?
Do you watch Doctor Who?
I've watched all of David Tennant and the young sexy one.
You got the Matt Smith though. You watched the Matt
I've
Smith?
watched the Matt Smith
Okay,
stuff.
The Silence.
Yeah.
Those
where
creepy Slender Man looking aliens.
when you see them, you forget
that you
about
forget
them.
you saw them, but
Right.
they were there influencing everything we did.
Right. And then every time they see them, they made the rule where they had the mark on their
Yeah.
bodies. And then there was the one time where they were just like walking somewhere in a room, and then all of a sudden it showed up all over their bodies.
Yeah.
And they were like,
within like 10 seconds, it
Yeah.
was like that. Those were my favorite episodes, I think, between that and the Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
But the Silence, that makes me think of that. Just the fact that they've been there throughout all of history and we didn't know it, and they were right in front of us.
Matt Smith was the best Doctor Who.
I love David Tennant, but Matt Smith. grew
David
on
Tennant
me.
was great. I think that the writing and the episodes and the storylines
Yeah.
and plot lines were just fantastic.
Truthfully, Capaldi really grew on me, but he's not my favorite. But I did like him.
I like Capaldi as the Doctor.
Yeah.
I think the storylines are just more. I think they were more original, and it was much easier to follow. I
was
thought.
just such. I just thought the writing was great with Matt Smith, but
Yeah.
the silence and the fact that they kind of like, if I recall correctly, they went away from it, but then like it tied back in to the
Right.
story again, and they were there, and it was just this creepy man, and they like came to Utah. That was cool.
There
I
was,
liked
there
how
was
they
stuff with that. There was some time travel. There was some.
But yeah.
Obviously, there was time.
So-
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Time
There
travel.
was
Who
time
would've
travel.
thought? Yeah.
Whoa.
But I definitely, it makes you wonder. Like, have I forgotten something that I've seen? Like, what? You know, there are those moments when you see something out of the corner of your eye that you just can't explain, and it's gone. Like that. I mean, it's a crazy concept.
Right.
That's one of the creepier but more interesting villains I think that I've ever seen on Doctor Who. I wish they would have been able to do more.
with them. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just UFOs. The Silence do kind of fit into that whole forget what you saw. Theme of that
Right.
of we want to protect, but they were more of like we're gonna run the course of human history and make sure that they're doing what we want them to do, just very subliminally.
Right.
Which is also a terrifying thought that we're not in control.
See, is there like, do we already have that technology? Like, that's my question. Is
To make someone forget?
Do the Men in Black utilize that kind of technology?
I've always
Are
heard the
they-
government is leaps and bounds ahead of us, like 30 years ahead of us in technology.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I believe that, but I believe it to an extent that they are much more advanced than what we as civilians have access to.
I would believe the same. So here's my ploy. So we've got these Men in Black movies with Will Smith. There's been how many of them? 3, 4?
3, I think.
I think there's been
Have there been
3.
four? I think
They're-
3.
They've got the 4th one coming out
Yeah.
with Chris Evans. Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And Tessa Thompson.
Yes.
Now here's the ploy. The comics themselves were done by an independent comic company, but in 1997, it was 2007, 1997, 2007, 10 years apart. I know, sometime during that.
Yes.
Marvel Comics bought these out.
Yes.
Now the movies are produced under Sony Pictures. Now here's the thing: if you watched the trailer for Spider-Man: Homecoming.
right.
This is how deep we're going. You notice that they talk about the multiverse.
Yes.
They show Nick Fury
Right.
in it. I'm not going to get into in-game spoilers per schmaps, but the theory is that Nick Fury isn't really there. It's an alien impersonating Nick Fury. So if there's no shield, who is the real entity that Spider-Man can work with and help?
Right.
Well, Spider-Man is not only produced, it's not really produced by Marvel, it's produced by Sony Pictures.
Right.
So is Spider-Man going to team up with the Men in Black?
I think you're getting a little too deep
this is
now.
the thing, but because they're owned, the Men in Black are owned by Marvel.
Yeah,
their
but
movies are
you're-
produced by Sony.
You're getting a little too
We're
deep
gonna
now.
get a Mothman movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
think
We're gonna
so.
get a Mothman movie.
think
They're
we
gonna
are.
come to Point Pleasant. They're gonna film a Mothman movie. Who's gonna play Mothman?
I don't think they are.
Who was gonna play Mothman? That answer, Jessica White. Jessica White's gonna play Mothman because he's the only one that could possibly.
Yeah, you're getting a little too
that could
deep now.
possibly
You all
be
right?
able to do that.
You doing okay?
There is
Everything okay at home?
there is a definitive need for a governing force to help all of these different superheroes deal with aliens. And the only thing that truly is canon and can help them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, they are Marvel. Men in Black is a Marvel property. It is the Men in Black. Now, you'll go and you'll think, how can Chris Hemsworth play two people? And I'm going to say, come on. Chris Evans was Human Torch and he's Captain America.
I'm going to pray for you. You need help.
These are my thoughts.
This
is how we get Mothman movie.
You need.
I
want
to do a campaign where I want to Kickstarter Mothman Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
Okay. Well, again, you need some help, son.
Here's the second thing. Enclave. Fallout
God,
76.
We're getting all over the place now.
Are they the Men in Black? Do they have any connection to the Men in Black? Because obviously, if the Mothman story is true,
Well,
are we going to have something in the future that is the Men in Black in the Enclave?
that's a possibility.
Let me get my Pepe Sylvia board out here, and we'll start. I keep seeing this name.
You're getting too deep now.
Men in Black.
Getting a little too deep.
Well, this week, to round it all off,
Round it all off.
we've got some mail in from one of our friends from the Cryptid Club. Sent in a cryptid that we all love. Well, we don't know yet, but we all love cryptids in general.
Can I read it this week?
You can read
I've
it
never
this
read
week,
it.
sure. Yeah, you can read whatever you want to read. You can do what I want to empower you to be the
So,
person you want to be.
Do we have the names at the end there, right? Okay.
The name's in there at the end.
Dead plant. I just want to go ahead and get a
Yeah, what's his name?
Dead plant.
Or her name? Dead Plant.
Dead plant is a great name. I'm intrigued. So I'm
intrigued.
excited to read this now.
Yes.
So Cryptid Club. All right. So message from Dead Plant. I'd like to contribute my 2 cents. I'm from Maine, about 2 hours south of where Far Harbor takes place, and despite being the most heavily forested state in the United States, we don't have much in the way of cryptids, other than a few dozen haunted lighthouses. That sounds pretty cool. I would love to check out some
Haunted lighthouses.
Yeah.
We can go to a lighthouse here, but it's not haunted.
There is one creature, however, that used to stalk the woods of Turner, a small town on the Nezinscot River. I'm assuming that's the pronunciation.
That was fine.
The fearsome Turner Beast. The Turner Beast was rumored to be a werewolf by reports that reached History Channel's Monster Quest after the body of a large wolf had been preying on livestock and pets were found. Researchers analyzed the corpse and determined it to be a mutant canine that was reportedly a wolf-dog hybrid. Some researchers hypothesized it could even be a dire wolf. Getting a little Game of Thrones crossover here.
Whoa. I know you like that.
Now, a singular preserved foot of the beast resides just south of Turner in Maine's own Cryptozoology Museum. You know all about that, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I
I legitimately do.
It's your spot. So it may be disappointing or anticlimactic to some that this mysterious creature terrorizing the town turned out to be a hound of Baskerville-esque farce, but the whole affair lends credence to the notion that cryptids certainly might be out there, even if they are not magical or mythical. I have a link, but the image isn't very pleasant, so let me know if you'd like to see it. I would like to see it.
Well, it's in the Discord, so you can go.
We'll have to.
We have a Discord.
I need to join the Discord. I'm behind.
It's a great.
Send me another invite, and I will join. I have the app
You
ready
can
to
go.
go.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to send you another invite because you can go to the link on the podcast. We have all of our links, and you can join our Discord.
All right, sassy pants. Hold on.
We have a discussion. I sent back about.
Is
I
it
talked
just
I
Vault
talked to
Boys
Dead
WV?
Plant. This is Vault Boys WV.
I gotta log back in.
You go to the podcast and then you click on a link because you gotta have the invite. The invite doesn't expire. At least it shouldn't expire. If it has, let me know. Email, tweet me, Facebook me, do what, wolf me. You know.
I'm not a robot. It's making me do a capture right now.
Anywho,
But going back to the story, I like the thought of possibly, even though it could be a little anticlimactic, maybe these creatures are out there. They're just not as mythical as we think that they are.
So, first off, side note, Cryptozoology Museum. That place is owned by a guy named Lauren Coleman, who I have a few books of his that he's written on cryptozoology, and he's also the person that investigated the Enfield monster, which we talked about last week.
Yes.
It's the only cryptozoology museum in the world.
A lot of worlds intertwining right now.
Yes. He has his hand in a lot of things, cryptozoology wise. But the one thing I want to talk about is a lot of my research in college was about island giganticism and what the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Essentially, if a species is isolated enough, it can grow very large or very small. So one of the examples is if you go to Assateague, Maryland, which I'm not sure if you've been to.
I have been there.
There's this beach, and on the beach there are these tiny horses.
Yeah, very tiny horses.
And they're very small, and because they had been separated because of this beach and this little island that they're on, they have grown to be smaller so that they are more adaptable to the climate down there. Is a great example of things that can be tiny.
There are more of those at, Grayson Highlands Park in Virginia. There are a ton of tiny horses there.
Tiny horses.
Tiny horses. Little Sebastian.
Little Sebastian.
R.I.P. in peace. Little Sebastian.
1,000 candles in the wind. So another great, I mean, if you're talking about like situations of island giganticism, the most popular one is King Kong.
Yeah.
That's the most popular one. But even in the mountains, you're going to have some of that isolation. That's why the cranberry bog is so interesting. Because of the glacial pattern, the elevation, it created this biome that things were able to thrive in. And that's why you have, essentially that's why you have flying squirrels. That was part of my research was because of how glaciers receded, you had these squirrels that were able to glide in between the trees.
Yeah.
And from there, they migrated into Virginia, and they became the Virginia flying squirrel, which is dumb because they're really from West Virginia, but the Virginians just decided to name it. Here's the thing. I'm a West Virginian when it suits me, and I'm a Virginian when it suits me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you kind of are living the best of both.
Yeah,
worlds
I can do what I want. I'm for, because I can be a part of the Union, and then I'm not going to be.
I don't think you want to be a part of the Confederacy. I was like, where are you going with this, Dave?
I don't know if I want to go down.
Yeah, you can just maybe be a Virginian every once in a while.
Every once in a while, when it suits me.
But thank you.
These
wolves.
These wolves. Yes, thank you, Dead Plant. These wolves that are up in the mountains.
Yes.
There was one account for this lady that's from Florida woman. That said when she was in Florida, she found what she would say as a mix of wolf and dog, found this dog that was eating trash out of a garbage bin, got him home. It had several different parasites in its body and nursed it back to health, fed it a lot of food so that it could get some nutrients, but then was so big after that, just like grew and grew and grew. And she went and visited some of her family in Maine, and lost the dog while she was up there. Put a bunch of posters up, tried to look for it, couldn't find it, and then left. And then a few weeks later, these reports came out that there was this wolf terrorizing and looked funny. And then the picture that he's talking about is a picture of this wolf dead, and she had said that looks exactly like what her dog looked like.
So I am in now the Discord.
Yes.
How do I get to this photo?
I'll explain that to you later. You don't need to know about that right now.
I want to know.
So you go to let's
photo gallery.
No, you don't go to photo gallery. There is a section under there called Cryptology Hunters International Club.
Found it.
Right. So he's got a few pictures that he posted of it. People add in a lot of stuff there. It's a fun place to talk about cryptids. I'll generally respond. It may be a day or two, but I'll be back.
I feel very involved now. I'm glad that I finally joined.
Yeah, that's the place where that's how we get together. That's how we play. We play some games together. We do a bunch of
Play
stuff.
some games together.
But Dead Plan, thank you for writing in.
Yes, thank you.
Whether it be real or not, I'm still mystified by it's the stories that matter to these people. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
You smelling what I'm stepping in?
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Well, for today, that's it. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes 5 stars. And we always appreciate that. That's how we go about getting our podcast out. That's how you can help me achieve my goals of becoming a cryptozoologist and getting my little piece of paper that I can show off, that I can go to events that I have not been invited to yet.
Dreams do come true.
Dreams do come true. They can happen to you. West Virginia Lottery. That's the theme song for the West Virginia Lottery. With that, I will say goodbye. But before I go, we've got you covered. Nope. Let me tell you, this is the first time that I've actually messed that up.
I mean, you're all over the place right now. Listen, from holler to highway.
We've got you covered
6 ways.
to Sunday.
Look at that teamwork.
Oh,
Look at that.
Let me tell you, when the relatives get together.
I forgot we're related.
Yep. All right. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye.